G'day guys, and welcome to a horses to follow segment. Had a bit of luck with the last lot of horses to follow, with quite a few running since, and Clearly Innocent Tornado hits the lottery. Write this down, Siskin for the Frick. For a few, I only went through it quickly just because I got a couple of emails saying that a few had won, that have gone and won at their next starts, and not too many of them have got beaten. So good start, and hopefully we can maintain that sort of strike rate. Doubt it, but we'll do our best. Hasn't been a couple of weeks, so going back a fair way, trying to find horses that haven't obviously run since. Did want to highlight this sprint race at Tamworth on the 30th of the 4th. Horse here, Kings of Leon, was having its first run in 250 days for the Matthew Smith stable. It was taken to a benchmark 70 sprint against some hardened sort of types, and wasn't easy to run on this day. I thought the inside was probably a pretty strong advantage, so what this horse does is pretty good. The advantage wasn't that strong, pardon me, but it's still a good effort. See that Kings of Leon's here in the middle, about 7th or 8th, coming to the turn. The second horse is the Wasp in here, who was really hard fit. I'll see here that Kings of Leon has to come wide. The Wasp gets the gut to open up and come straight through the middle. Shows some nice acceleration, and Kings of Leon really has to dig deep. And really strong late, really love that last 50 metres. He pins his ears and through the line, you just see him. They show the run through. He's done a really good effort. He's done a really good effort, but his effort was really strong there to run that leader down, and I think he can go on to measure up in town this preparation. The next effort was at Dubbo. Race to a horse that we actually backed this day, called Thornbro. Horse is absolutely flying for mine. This is not an overly strong race, so it's not a super horse to follow, but this horse is just bursting to win a race and probably will go around in the near future. Just highlight the ride it gets here and kind of why. This is it, number 6 in the green with the red, so it does miss the kick. See that it's really aggressive on it after the start, which is never a great thing for a horse's chances. And I'm not exactly sure where he's driving it up into here. You'll see that he sort of drives it into a non-existent gap and ends up having to pull the horse up off heels there. He drives it again into a spot that nowhere is, so the horse loses momentum again. He continues to drive it into a hole that's really not there. So he's used up a lot of this horse's energy for absolutely no reason. It would have been in the same spot. You see it gets chopped out there. And now when you really need to be clear running and having your momentum, he's now held up and still searching for a run. Tries to drive through another gap that's not there. Flattens that horse. And now has the audacity to continue to run on at the end when he finally gets a bit of clear room. Should have dead set walked in that race, but another day for it. Thornbro, as you said, that wasn't a super strong race, and he did look fairly well placed there, but he is a horse that with the rider change can definitely improve fairly quickly, and around the 1,200-1,300 metre mark can be very hard to beat. Race 5. This horse has already ran since. Actually, I'll leave that one out. It's a bit too... Actually, I will show it, just to show the reason why I want to show it. So The horse is called Foxdown. It's had another run since and ended up back last and was beaten. But all I want to show here is something to look for in the country. So this is Foxdown down here. You can see he's fighting the rider, pulling hard here, trying to restrain it back in behind, which is not a thing you sort of suggest to do over 1,000 metres. He definitely could have been up outside this leader if he wanted to. And what I want to point out here is the way this horse is ridden out the straight. He does want to get in behind there by the looks of it, or you could argue that's hard to say without the front on and the horse shifts. But once it gets to the outside, I just want to show. So it's kind of getting 1, 2. You look at the action of the rider and the lack of really too much there. So hard to say too much without seeing the head on to see whether that horse is getting in on top. But that horse is raced wide restrained, then the race has got away from him and he really wasn't given much hope in the straight. They've run pretty solid time and they've got home pretty quickly. So this is the same rider on a horse. Basically what I want to show this for is the difference in vigour that he was able to show here and why that horse probably wasn't given his total chance there to win. So this is the Arrowfield colours coming through the middle of the same rider, and just watch the difference in action and difference in vigour and difference in aggression late on this horse. So once he gets through the gap, same sort of action he was using on Foxdown, but we'll see now how much more aggressive and how he drives this horse to the line. I think even his right arm, you'll see it's totally different. So just something to look for in the country when, say, that horse is lugging or whatever's caused him not to be able to give it its chance like he did in the previous race. This horse here has gone straight and he's out in the open. He's been able to drive it and get that extra few lengths out of it. So that horse, Foxdown, can definitely improve out of race 5, even though it has been beaten again. It was pretty unlucky at its subsequent start. Sorry, I'll just pull it up here. It was beaten 3.5 lengths behind Lusitania. It was a really solid winner. They've run good time again, so it won't be a maiden long. Next race, Bonhomie, Cessnock. Bit of an obvious winner here, but Latin boys come out and just probably a certainty beaten at Wyong today in stronger grade than this. These horses, it's pretty hard to dominate a 900 like these two did. Bonhomie's in the middle here, having its first start off with just a single trial. So Bonhomie has to do a little bit of work here, 3 wide. It's only 1 turn, it's not that difficult. But this horse, who I've got some time for, Latin boys, had the easier run, even though it was probably ridden a bit upside down. That's not going to matter too much over 900 metres, you wouldn't think, and they're able to dash home here. And I just really like the way this horse got to the line late. Just where it digs in there and really puts them away. The gap's opening up behind. There's a lot of good stuff happening in that race. See all these gaps here, and that's over 900 off a slow tempo. So got plenty of time for this horse and think it will go through the grades without much issue, even though it is only a 900 metre maiden. So a little bit careful where it goes to, but don't want it stretching out sort of 1100 metres or further off that run with confidence. But it still should sprint really well wherever Jason Deemer decides to take it. Next is the 6th of the 5th Rose Hill. I just think this is going to be a strong race. This black on gold Octavian Augustus race, they've really dominated off a solid tempo. I think Octavian Augustus probably needs to go back in trip to be really hard to beat. I think back to a mile in a big field, he can run really well. It's been racing up on the speed this time in, much more comfortably once it gets up to this level. And this is black on gold here, who's still green and got plenty of improvement, but just knows how to find the line. He's the one that wants to go to Brisbane and continue to keep being difficult to beat as he goes up in grade and out in distance, whereas I think Octavian Augustus is absolutely flying, but probably 1800 metres is a bit beyond him back to a mile, he could be really hard to beat in this sort of grade. Don't want to spend too much time on that race. Race 4, this horse just looks a group horse, racing in a rating 76, taken out of the gates like they expected it to be a good thing. They've obviously run along pretty solidly, but still don't slack coming home and run really quick time. So for this horse to win with this arrogance here, Tommy Berry pulls it to the outside. The way it lengthens late and runs away from is very impressive. Kawakini's obviously flying, done a really good job beating the rest quite comfortably. And I thought that Passage of Time's effort having to cut the field up in this strong tempo was also excellent. I think it'll go to 1400 metres next time, and if it can get on the speed, it'll just keep going and be very hard to beat. So the first 3 across the line definitely worth following, and I think even Samad out first up there, Fast Race has done a really good effort. So first 4 of the first 5 across the line there. I'm not sure if Samad out held on for 4th. It did. So the first 4 across the line there, I think, are all in for, good subsequent runs from it. The winner's obviously exceptionally smart, dominant over the rest of them, and the other 3 are in winning form. Race 6, and a horse called Dreamforce. So this is the fastest tempo of the day. They run fast time, and this horse has to work hard. Coming out here, crosses Roguish. Colonel Custer, I think it is. Colonel Custer kicks up on the inside, and these 2 apprentices sort of take each other on. Dreamforce kicks away with Roguish and just had the tougher run and must tire late. And a lot of its merit's kind of hidden here, where it's second with 20 metres to go and ends up running 5th. So it's probably the run of the race there. Shandana was also good, being wide, no cover, but it's the one that's got the speed up on the pace and should be hard to beat. 1500 metres there, and something around 14, 15, even out to a mile possibly, if it looks like it can get up on the speed comfortably. Should be ready to win now. Hawkesbury on the 9th, first race of the day, fast time off a slow tempo. This horse here, Maroc, is the horse I'm interested in. He's out wide here. Is first up. It's got form sort of over further than this in its last preparation, which was its first prep. Gets caught a bit wide and in no man's land here, and kind of forced to go forward and sit outside the lead, which is not his go. Loses the turn a little bit, out sprinted and whacks away. I really like the effort first up. Fast Horses won the race, and I think he's in for a good preparation. Bigger field, bit more ground, ridden quiet. He'll be very difficult to beat in whatever he contests this preparation. Race 6, a bit of an obvious one in Nacho Libre. Had 2 runs this time in and 2 really strong wins. Slow tempo at Goulburn and put them away. Fast tempo this time, sat up on it, up in distance and put them away again. He looks like he's definitely city class to me, and interesting to see how far he gets. Hopefully they don't step him up too quickly, because he does look like he's dangerous around this mile mark and strong. So I'd like to see him stay at the mile probably for one more before stepping up, but he's got that little turn of foot and he's strong once he can maintain that head of steam once he builds it, so he can kick up and then maintain it, and it's a really positive attribute. Another couple of good gaps there behind, and he was dominant. So Nacho Libre won to keep going through the grades. Canterbury, and unfortunately, one. This one's obvious, but this horse had obviously been trialling well. They've gone slow. Rip home. This is his first time at a racetrack, and he's arrogant the way he puts them away. See how strongly he's travelling here. Forever Dream coming to the outside. this is the whole race, basically, a sprint down the straight, and the way he puts away some more seasoned horses that have had race starts. They've had the time in front, the slow time, and the arrogant way that he puts them away late is really quite impressive. Even through the line, pricks his ears. He's a group horse, no doubt about it, even though that's only a 3-year-old maiden and they've only run fair time due to that slow tempo. He was the only one affected. If they go faster, he wins by further. So definitely one to follow there. Another slow tempo, and at first starter, this horse was Angel's Boy. They run faster time here. Angel's Boy kind of just misses a little bit and then is let find its feet after that happens. It does get a good ride from this point, but they do walk in front. They do run time and they do rip home. And this horse here is rails hugging throughout. But that last 50 metres yet again from this horse is what I'm interested in. I didn't mind this effort from Hong Ki Gong as well. Out wide, just no luck, not its day. They're running fast time up front, very hard to come wide at Canterbury and make ground when they're running such fast time and getting home so quick. So I thought its effort was also good and runs sixth and with a nice gap behind. So it's the other horse in the race I'd like to follow. Heading to Scone, the Friday meeting. Race 4. This horse was second up over the mile. My Texan, they walk and sprint home here. My Texan was forcibly restrained out of the gates here. In the yellow and blue cross colours. Stripe colours, sorry. You can see it sort of over racing back in here. The winner's actually on its back at this point. You can see that he's sort of got improvement physically to come, and he allows Estic Raj to go around him there, waits for an inside run. Not sure why, should have been up here by this stage and probably wins the race. Instead it's back inside looking for runs, checking off heels there. Still no clear running. This horse has got all the momentum up. Ducks back to the inside and sprints quickly, but the race is over and the winner's got all the momentum. He's a horse that could come to town for mine and win a midweek at the very worst over this mile, or even maybe a little bit further, but probably don't want to get too ahead of itself just to stay at the mile for now. But that was a decent enough Class 1 and could come into a pinch of midweek off that for mine. Race 5, and there's a couple I want to show here. Obviously one out wide here in Suncraze, and one that's up closer to the tempo in the red and white here called ReOnFire, who only had country form leading into this. So did Suncraze basically, but the winner's looked like a group horse at one point in its career and gets all the luck here. Whereas these two one runner, ReOnFire, does a bit of work up on the speed, and Suncraze is just wide and wider and just keeps coming. Don't think we're going to get a price about Suncraze wherever it goes, but ReOnFire could easily slip through the gaps. Hadn't had a lot of work coming into this race, reportedly. Was a little bit underdone physically and puts in a huge effort. So probably like to see it 3 weeks between runs to make sure that this didn't take too much out of it. But you see ReOnFire sort of leads to the 100 metre mark, up a mile in grade here. Suncraze is the widest runner, done all this work, looks under massive pressure and just keeps finding the line. It's a talented horse, there's no doubt about that, and the winner's just getting up the inside and gets all the breaks and runs away from them that last part. So Suncraze and ReOnFire are the ones to follow for me. Suncraze I'd follow just about anywhere, and ReOnFire I think probably drops back in grade and can run a race, but it's another one that's capable of coming to the midweeks for mine and running well. So definitely provincial level, country not a problem, and back to city midweek level at this stage is definitely a possibility. Race 6, slow tempo, time wasn't great, but there's a run here. Roulette drew very wide, restrained out of the race. back towards the tail on the fence there. Got some time for this horse, Siskin, so anything that runs in this race I'm interested in. Brulet's back in here, held up, looking for runs. Finally gets a stiff of some fresh air here and really launches. Love the way this horse finds the line against the slow tempo, and is heavily pace affected there, and probably should have been in the finish. So it's one that looks like it might be back on track. And then we'll go to Scone on the last day. Fence was off here, so just want to... This was race 4, Miss Debutante race. Obviously, Gibraltar Girl's the really unlucky runner and probably should have been winning, but Blowing Kiss is the one I want to point out as well. So the two horses we're interested in here, Blowing Kiss who stays hard fence, and Gibraltar Girl who's on the fence but tries to get to the outside and has no luck in doing so. So Blowing Kisses stays hard fence all the way, works into the race, and then that bias just really bogs her down late. So she stays hard fence the whole way. Held up here, gets a run, sprints through. There, we'll see it's turn a foot there, and then the bias just cracks in that last part and makes her job too tough. I think she's ready to win. Definitely. So the other horse obviously is Gibraltar Girl. This was her race, back to 1100 metres, had the race fitness on these horses, and you can see she's just hopelessly held up. Hopelessly held up. Checks off heels, hopelessly held up, still in restricted room. Checked out of it again, finally sees a bit of gate room and makes up lengths under a hold. I think she's nearly a certainty beat there, but Miss Debutante's going well. No, don't want to take too much away from her. So, Blowing Kiss is the one for me to follow out of the race, and obviously Gibraltar, you're not going to get much advantage out of it. Everyone's seen it, and she's finished off in the best part of the track. So Blowing Kiss is the little sneaky one there that may get through to the keeper. I'd like to see her on a bit more of a fair track. Something around the 1,100,000 metre range. She seems to be most dynamic, and she can win straight away. So that's a lot, and thanks for listening. Hopefully we find a few more winners. Thanks.